What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Montana Method Podcast one more time. As always, your host, Nelson Rodriguez Jr., author, creator, and everything under the sun of Montana Method. Very honored and privileged to have a very special guest in my space today, Ms. Kat Moreno.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so good to be here. Thank you for the invite.
No, of course, of course. It's been a long time coming. I've been meaning to invite you for some time, so.
I appreciate that. That means, what we're doing is working.
Yes.
The message is getting out there, so that's good.
You never know who's watching, right?
That's true. That's very true. Very true.
Definitely. Alrighty, guys. We'll be right back. Elijah, kick the intro.
I've been out here hustling all my life. Every day we get into it. Really out here in these streets. That's day and night. Like there's nothing to it. When I was going through it, dog, I never got your call. I never asked for nothing, no. But now I want it all. I promise I'ma do it. Came from rags to riches. Rags to riches. Came from rags to riches. Rags to riches. Came from rags.
Hi.
Hello.
It's good to have you here.
Hey, I'm happy to collaborate with, Miami creators. We were just talking about
Yes,
that, right?
we were. Yeah.
You got to keep it in Miami. You have to.
So I chose I don't know if you saw the thumbnail that I created. It
Yes.
was becoming the baddest businesswoman in Miami, but apparently you're the baddest businesswoman in Fort Lauderdale.
Don't
now,
tell people that, bro. Please. 305 all day.
No, that's where you're from, but
Well, we're talking about that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I love Miami. Listen, I have 305 tatted on me, bro. Ride or die. However, it pains me. I had to move. Okay, it's just we're talking about it. There's
Yeah,
so
we
many
were.
transplants. There's so many people coming out here. It's pushing us out.
yeah.
And you were saying, I was like, what are we gonna do about it? You're like, well, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving.
I mean, that's not really. I get it that there's it's happening and it's expensive and things are rough, but the more of us leave, the worse it's gonna get.
True, definitely.
Because ultimately, this is just gonna become New York if all of us leave.
I feel like it's already New York.
No, it's not New York. It's something else. It's different.
It's very different.
Yeah, because the you'll never change the amount of Hispanic people that are in this. Like, it's only grown, right? Because it was mostly like Cubans and a little Venezuelans and like the Central Americans now, historically it's always been like a Spanish city.
Yes.
Now it's even more of a Spanish city.
Mm-hmm.
So that alone is already like why this city won't turn into some like giant concrete wasteland.
Yeah.
And we come with certain ideals and morals, and like we're different, no matter
It's
what.
all about perspective, because I see it so different. I see it so differently.
It is about perspective, because most of the people that think they know what Miami is think Miami is Brickell.
Oh yeah.
That's like the world's perspective of Miami.
Right.
And Miami is so many different things that it's hard to put into words. It's hard to contextualize. This place is like, yeah, it's the United States, but it's not. This is a different country.
It's totally different. I feel like Miami, it's been cyclical, right? So you remember 2009, 2010,
Right.
the world was crashing, but Miami was experiencing a boom.
100%.
All the money was coming in from Russia, Venezuela. They were hiding money, and all the condos were getting, purchased, and the apartments, right? So, and then it died down again. But since COVID, it's been up, and people from all over are coming here. You're right. There's a huge mixture now from a lot of different Latin American countries, where it was mostly Caribbean.
Right.
You get Nicaragua a little bit, Venezuela, Colombia. But now there's a huge mixture of Latin America, right?
Yep.
You're right. Miami is not Brickell. Miami is everything else in the area,
Right.
but it's changed drastically. I don't think it's going to go back because of just the spotlight.
It's impossible. I can't. Yeah.
There's too much of a spotlight on it, and all the content creators are coming from New York and California.
It's become the capital of media.
It's become the capital of media. You're right, but I miss it
new media, which is different, but yeah.
completely. But I miss it. I had to move. The traffic was driving me crazy. People, it was just too much. And I feel also, like after COVID, I feel like there was a loss of humanity, in a sense of like, hey, I'm a human being, you're a human being. It became, this place became like, I'm fighting for space. I'm fighting for, in traffic. I'm fighting for everything. And like, I wanted to just get out of that equation for a little bit.
Yeah.
But don't tell anybody, please, that I moved to Broward. Please. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah, it's just between you, me, and my audience.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
I don't know, man. I love humans, and I curse a lot on the show, by the way.
That's fine.
That's completely. I love humans, but fuck humans.
Yeah.
You know, like I love people. I really do with all my heart. But fuck people. Like I have that attitude, and I try to when people are like, "Wait, what do you mean by that?"
Right.
What I mean is, I love people, and I do everything within my power to help other people. I really do. But there's only so much you can do for other people before you realize some of them they're just digging their own grave. So it's like,
True.
fuck them. Like it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know.
That's why I moved, bro. That's why I moved. Fuck them.
So what I meant by that is like the people that are moving here and turning this place into what it not used to be. You're digging their own grave. Like you're doing it to yourself. You'll never
sterile.
You'll never
know?
get to realize what a gem this place was. And it really was.
It was.
And you and I know where to go still to kind of get a little, nostalgic vision of what that was once upon a time.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is. You did it to yourself.
It's unfortunate. I just feel like the money hungry side of the people who are in control of the city.
I mean, don't get me started on BlackRock and State Street.
I'm
what?
telling you.
You're in real estate?
Yes.
So I'm preaching to the choir. Yeah.
Yeah. So they've purchased everything. They've flipped it into a renter's market.
Pretty much.
But again, it's the flavor that Miami used to have.
Yeah, it's
the rumba, the thing.
It used to be like a very vibrant flavor you could feel, and now it's like
it's sterile.
It's
sterile. I don't like the taste of it anymore. It just doesn't feel like Miami. And again, times are going to change.
Right.
We knew. I don't want to be, like our parents in the 80s, like, oh yeah, damn, but it's not.
No, but that's inevitable though.
Yes.
Because things change no matter what.
Of course,
when you're older, you're gonna talk about
the good old days.
Yeah,
right?
I mean that's kind of like I used to like sitting with my grandfather, him telling me about when he got here in Mariel and how Ronald Reagan was president and how things were different. Like, because I'll never be able to live that era. The only way that those times live is through the people that lived them.
Right.
So that's kind of like Miami will never die because it'll live on through us.
It has a different thing to it now. Like the story has changed.
Several things, yeah.
Several things. Like before, you would find, the scammers and the thing. You'd be able to like open your eyes and be like, oh, this is a scam for sure. Now it's just so widespread. It's difficult to find the real ones here in the city, like to do business.
100%.
I hate doing business in Miami. It's just at the level.
I mean,
it's tough, right? To find authentic people who actually do what they say they're going to do and follow through. Bro,
that's just Elijah. Hit record on the camera. Yeah. Now, it was already hard before.
Yeah.
Like we had that fama of like having the real shyster. I mean, after it's historical. After the whole drug wave of the 80s, what ended up happening was there was kind of like a white collar crime wave, right? Which I don't know if it ever left. Miami's the fraud capital of the world, by the way. Not even the country, and that's not. I'm not proud of that at all. However, so that reputation has always kind of like been there.
Yeah.
So it's like hustle by any means necessary. So on top of already having that reputation historically, now you have other people that are coming here from places like New York who, it is what it is. They have their own attitude and things like that. You mix that and you get like...
You get Miami. That's what it is now.
You get a nuclear explosion of like people you might not want to deal with.
I think so, because, you're right. Miami's always been based on appearance, right? And back then you were able to kind of figure out like, oh, this person's full of shit. Like, es un balsero que vive ahí en Hialeah, but he's driving, a Porsche or whatever.
Yeah.
But now
no, that's still alive and well here.
Super, right? But like that was the joke before. Now it just is. It's everybody. So now you mix that with the vanity and having to have it here, and now it's on social media. I can't deal with the superficial lifestyle. That's why I left. I love this city so much. You can't get anywhere you want to anymore. Everything used to be 20 minutes. Now it's an hour. And it's just...
Traffic was after 5, not anymore.
Oh, yeah, but I was going to ask you, bro, does anybody work anymore?
bro.
How are people sustaining themselves? Because not everybody can work.
How is there
remotely.
traffic at 2 in the afternoon? Like,
I'm genuinely curious.
I don't understand. Yeah.
So the only reason why it's worrying to me is because, in 2008, the recession, it was very similar. You would find a lot of people out in the streets. You would find credit card, usage rampant. But now you can't. I don't know what's happening here. Is it truly the recession is hiding? Is it people are scamming people and this is how they're sustaining themselves? Like, what's the actual answer?
Also, people that are immigrating here from other countries, maybe.
But are they LA Fitness at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
And the nightlife has always been here, so you could argue that, the hospitality workers, but that wasn't a problem before, and we were a capital of nightlife a long time ago.
That's right. So I don't know.
I don't like the fact that there's lines in stores in the middle of the day now.
It doesn't make sense. Economically,
it
doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense.
Which leads to another interesting topic, which is it's no secret that media has an agenda and doesn't tell us the truth behind things.
Absolutely.
So what I see and what I experience, mind you, we live in a bubble, okay, whatever. But, okay, so obviously a shitload of people left one city and came to another.
Right.
So you see buildings that are empty in New York, right? Okay, maybe those people moved here, but what? Do they work from home?
Right.
That too, right? That could be another explanation. Which, by the way, I am super anti-work from home, bro.
Yeah.
I need to be around people.
Same.
If I'm running a business, I need to interact with you. This shit of like having to call you or like Slack you or text you and then you don't answer, it's like, bro, first off, you're working from home.
Right.
So you should be on the clock.
Right.
So you already know how people, they don't answer the phone or they don't this and that. And it's like, why can't I get a hold of you?
Right. It doesn't make sense. I mean,
if you work for me and I'm paying you to do a job, why can't
be there? Right. But it doesn't make sense. I think during COVID,
I'm not a fan of it. I just don't know.
It had its run, but now, a lot of companies.
But it's stuck around.
A little bit, right? However, companies are decreasing the work from home, but there was always a remote work environment.
No, but it's nothing compared to what it is now.
No.
And now people are demanding it, and it's like, bro.
It's changing, though. It is. I think it's coming back to normal, but
somewhat.
The job and labor market, the numbers are not being reported properly because you're talking about the media, right?
100%.
People aren't working. People can't get jobs, right? I'm finding out again.
I see it more and more every day.
Yes. There's this whole thing now of like appearances. So these giant companies, even middle-sized companies, are posting online that they have vacancies and yet not hiring. So it's all a scam, bro. The labor market is decreasing. People are losing their jobs. They can't get work. People are out of work. Everything is super high. So I personally believe we are in a recession.
We're living in a matrix is what we are.
That as well, right? But I feel like we've experienced the recession, but yet the media was not reporting on it, And even backwards in and of itself, the U.S. economy, but you're right, we do live in a bubble. I just went to Europe this couple months ago. Bro, everything is the same price. Everything is affordable. People are calm, no traffic. So like it's backwards to think like, oh, this is how it is post, pandemic. It's not. You guys are being lied to. Like the world is not operating like this.
No, it is what it is. If you get offended, I really don't care. Like the people that are running this country have the IQ of a 5-year-old with Down syndrome. Like I just, it's actually a Molotov cocktail of a lot of dangerous things. It's incompetence and avarice together.
The people running the country, actually running, they're smart people. But the people at the front lines. Well,
no. I'll counter that. I'll argue that. They're smart, but they're so arrogant, they're stupid.
Okay.
Their greed and their arrogance of like that I'm above the law and I'm above everybody else and I can do whatever I want has made them stupid, has made them make stupid decisions. Like print infinite amounts of money because they just want to keep stealing this money, right?
Right.
Because you're not going to sit here and tell me that, oh my God, we lost $1 billion in accounting. It was stolen. You stole it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It is what it is. So like that arrogance has, and that's what historically what happens with anybody with power. Like you can get to the point where you get so arrogant that your IQ and your judgment is clouded because you think,
I think so. So the people who are actually running it, meaning, let me clarify what I meant by that. The people who are actually running and actually in power, we don't know who these people are. They're behind closed doors. The people that they put in these positions.
We can guess,
I mean, it's old money.
Well, we might not have proof. Yeah, I guess.
Right. But the people at the front lines, those are the talking heads for, those people. Controllable, obviously money hungry, because that's how they do well. But
Correct.
this being one of the only countries that the Fed, right, it's not a part of the government, and yet it is at the same time. Like, when are people going to wake up, right?
That's a great question.
Like, why did they print this money? Who made that decision? It wasn't people in power. It was the Fed. The Fed is a completely self-operating, self-regulating system in this country that for some reason are dictating economic policies in our own country.
Bro.
It's just like, wake up, bro. Wake up. But we do live in a matrix because people don't know this. They're not aware. And also, what are you going to do about it?
That's another thing that we're being tricked in. Like, there's more people that are aware than we realize.
I think now, because of social media.
And we're finding each other.
True.
You know what I mean? That's what I love about social media. With social media, I never would have met you. I wouldn't know you existed on this planet. I literally, the only times I've ever seen you were on 3 different podcasts.
How funny.
So, I think it's like, again, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You created this thing to control people, but then that same thing has all these other capabilities that you can't control. I say this all the time. Humans try so much to control that they control nothing.
It's powerful.
Right?
It's a deep thought.
If you think about it, like the more, it's like, okay.
But
and ultimately, you don't change anything.
Well, control is an illusion in and of itself, right? It's an illusion.
I'm going to get that tattooed across my chest one day.
Yeah.
For real.
Control is an illusion in and of itself.
History, right? I always go back to history. There's been millions of people that have lived before me. Am I so naive as to think that I have the capacity to control something that someone has not tried to control in the past and
That's
failed?
a real thought. Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, who am I compared to someone who, I don't know. I always like talking about these crazy historical figures. Let me talk about somebody I haven't talked about. Who's like some maniacal evil person. I don't know, Vlad the Impaler, or like some Mongol that killed 1,000 people in Asia. Like, look at where their control got to, that they were willing to like literally destroy everybody around them. What did ultimately they died? Like,
it was a time. It was a period in time. I think as human beings, the obsession with control, right, ends up being the demise.
Correct.
Right.
Every one of them, I would argue that their demise was that they're like
the Roman Empire, Napoleon, Kublai Khan, Genghis Khan. I mean, like, pick your poison, and I mean, it's the control, right? But I love that thought that you were saying. Like, sometimes people forget that you are
always forget. They always forget.
Speck on the timeline, right? So what can you do about it? That's the thing, because you can't control. It's an illusion of control. You can control as much as what you can. But what can we do about it now? Right? We're just talking. What can we do about it now? All these people are moving to Miami. What can we do? We can stay. We can talk about it. We can get more angry on 95. Right? Don't come in. You can't. It's like, it's figurative. That's why I think it's such a shit show on 95. You can't come in. I'm not letting you in. It's a subconscious thing. Right? Get out of my city. But I'm really
yell
saying,
at
don't
a person
come into
who's
my
not
lane.
even listening to you because they're in another car and they can't hear you.
Bro, so what can we do about it? That's the big question.
This all leads into AI, believe it or not. AI is the ultimate form of control.
Why? Tell me why.
Why?
Yeah.
That's humanity's form of like controlling everything.
Tell me more.
But then the AI ends up being uncontrollable. And guess what? Destruction. It's the same cycle of what you're talking about, but it becomes a whole different thing. Now, there's some people that believe that integration is like the ultimate destiny. Like, that's inevitable, the integration between technology and humanity, which I'm not opposed to. I used to be violently opposed to that, right?
Really?
But then I thought about it, and I was like, well, I mean, if it's inevitable, right? So let's look at the positive side of that. What would life look like if you had like some sort of AI assistant that like was, instead of having like a real assistant, you had like an AI assistant that, knew your whole schedule. And so, hey, Nelson, good morning.
Right.
Time to get up, get out of your bed. You have like this automatic bed thing that puts you out of bed. Okay, you made my breakfast for me. Would that be so bad?
I don't think so.
Good and bad.
I mean,
it makes us a little lazy or efficient, depending on what argument you use.
I see efficient, right? So my view on AI has changed. I thought it was like, oh, this is crazy, right? But I've been going deep into the AI kind of sphere.
Have you been using it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, me too.
Like now I've learned how to use it properly because before everybody's apprehensive to a new technology.
Of course.
Right? And what you said,
Especially something as powerful as AI, right?
it's massively powerful. But you said, the integration between humanity and technology, we're already there. Like everything is on the phone anyway, right? However, AI, the limit where AI is everything that's in existence.
Yes.
That's the only thing, right? It can extrapolate, it can interpret for itself, but
Right.
it can only create something that has been existed on
already.
this planet,
Right.
right? That's where the control, that's why I'm not fearful that it's going to control. But what I do think it's going to do, Nelson, I feel like it's going to force us to evolve, right?
Agreed.
This is Darwinism at its finest,
100%.
right? If you don't evolve, you will get left behind and you will die out. Perhaps in this time, you can't, besides illnesses and, things naturally taking out people, we're at the point that technology is going to be taking out people. Because if your skill set doesn't match the time
100%.
you're out, like, what are you going to do?
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? So it's powerful.
It's cutting out the mundane.
It's cutting out the
Like
mundane.
the data entry and the people who make, oh yeah, I make $40 an hour to like sit at a desk and do nothing. Well,
Right.
it's not gonna.
You're going to be forced to evolve. Maybe
100%.
this is our time frame in the timeline of history that we're going to be forced to evolve, leapfrog into advancement, right? So do I feel bad for some people? It's natural evolution.
I don't,
I don't either.
because it gives you a chance to find real purpose in life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I agree. It's a great thing. If you don't know about it, you should. So will it make you lazier? I don't think so, right? Because AI...
It has the potential to, but it depends on the person,
I mean,
right?
so does social media, right? Like, I don't want to talk to a human being. I'm going to message them, right? It's disconnected us in a lot of ways.
100%.
But I feel like just like social media, there's going to be the people who rise above and utilize it to capitalize and make things better and make you more efficient, right? Because now I used to think it was just like, copy generation, but it could be everything. It could be, you can change the mode to where it can be that you're brainstorming with it and it prompts you with questions. Like, it's amazing.
Singularity.
It's amazing, So if you guys aren't on it, do it. Advance.
Have you heard of the concept of, you know what singularity is?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Of course.
Do you know where the story originated?
I
Like,
don't.
No?
Mm-mm.
All right. It's actually singularity and synchronicity, but I'll talk about both. So synchronicity, a long time ago, there was this like liquid explosive thing being transported on a ship in the 1700s. And what happened was they had to be super careful, and like they waited until the water was calm to transport it, because any little thing would make the liquid volatile and it would blow up the whole ship, right? Mind you, we're talking about like those old wooden pirate ships, like from the 1700s. So they're good, they're cruising, and then all of a sudden, the worst storm they've ever seen hit them, and they're like, all right, we're going to die. But they stuck through it, and they got through the storm. They got to the dock, and they were curious. They were like, because obviously no one went downstairs. They were like, bro, whatever happens, happens. But they got to the dock, and then they checked up on the liquid, and it was frozen. There's recorded instances of the same liquid being transported across the world, and all of it froze at the same time. That's what synchronicity is.
Synchronicity.
Synchronicity is when these isolated instances of the same thing happen in very far away places, and they seem like they're disconnected, but in reality they're not. They have to do with each other. That's what I think life is in general. Like, AI is just a continuation of what's already happening to us now, and what's happened into humanity. Like, but now it's just a very fast version of what's happening.
Right.
Because AI is able to consume all this information in like milliseconds. So what has happened is going to happen over and over again at a faster rate.
Much faster. Yeah.
You know?
Have you seen that video, by the way, of
Which one?
the Tesla employee?
No.
Okay, so a couple weeks ago, this Tesla employee, you can tell he's dressed in his outfit. He shows his badge, and he's in a facility, and he's like, guys, he's like, I can't keep this a secret anymore. He's like, I'm probably going to get fired. I'm probably going to get into trouble. He's like, this is my ID number. I work for Tesla. He's like, Tesla has put in $1 billion into the development of robotics. And he's like, we're almost done on the production line. He's like, I work on the production line. He's like, the robots that are being created efficiently with AI already plugged in. He's like, it's happening. It's happening. That video like disappeared. Nobody can find it.
But who would be surprised that Elon Musk is doing that? Like,
I'm not surprised.
he's putting a fucking chip in your brain.
That's what I heard, but like
No, that there's videos of the chip in the brain already, like
Really? I
of people with the cable coming out of their head. Yeah, that's called Neuralink. It's a real thing.
I've heard about it, but I didn't think there were actual human beings.
Oh, that were
doing
willing.
this.
Yeah, there's people who are willing to do anything. Of course, if you know, the
True.
betterment of humanity, esto lo otro.
Right?
You know.
First victims.
Alrighty, guys, we're gonna take our first commercial break. We'll be right back. Alrighty, guys, taking a quick break from the podcast to bring you a word from our sponsor, Christian J. DePaz. Appreciate him for coming through. He offers a phenomenal service. Guys, you know I'm a big promoter of entrepreneurship, owning a company, starting a business, doing your own thing, and chasing your own dreams. But as the old saying goes, takes money to make money. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Christian J. DePaz and what he does. He gets funding for new and startup businesses. Christian, tell us a little bit about it.
Thank you so much, bro,
Of course, bro.
for giving us the opportunity to come inside your podcast and help more entrepreneurs start their own business or scale their current businesses. So what we do here at Secure Funding is that we'll help you acquire anywhere between $50,000 to $150,000 at 0% interest rate business credit, so you can once again start or scale your current business. So if you come here from our good friend Nelson, there's no other you're coming from the Mulhana Method Podcast, and we'll take extra good care of you. With that being said, brother, thank you so much for bringing us on.
Of course. What are you waiting for, guys? Click the link in the bio.
Everybody thinks that. Jeez.
So assumptions, they make an ass out of you and me, right?
Absolutely.
You know? So yeah, I mean, I don't look like, which again is the misconception, right? I don't look like a convicted felon, right? But what does that even mean? Like title? No, I'm talking about titles in general,
Right.
right? When someone labels somebody something, oh, you're a Republican, oh, you're a Democrat. What does that even mean? Like,
Well, I believe that comes from a position of safety in somebody's mind, right? Social constructs create things that make sense to people. So people are operating on old data, dogma from the past, not renewing their information. Perhaps their perspective can be wrong. That's why when you said that about yourself, I'm like, you know what? That's fine. Like, because of an instance in somebody's life, it does not define you as a human being.
100%.
Right?
100%.
People make mistakes. People fuck up. People don't have the right education or protection in their own life, and they get involved in things.
Yep.
Dade County, baby. Like if you haven't come from the bottom and like been in the mud and the dirt, you're not from here.
For sure. Everybody's
right?
got that uncle that,
Right. Exactly. Right.
Yeah,
so
you
the
know,
thing,
the uncle that came over in the 80s, you know what I'm talking
of
about.
course, right? Came over in the 80s,
You know, had the really nice house.
He had his chain as well. You know, nobody knew how, but you know, it's a thing. So having those constructs can protect people. You're a Republican, you think XYZ. I am XYZ, so we're going to have conflicting opinions.
Right.
Instead of having that perspective, like your opinions are different, mine are, what can I learn from you as a human being? Right? People are on the defense. So the social construct can be one of both things. So when you said that, I'm like, it's fine. Like it's okay. And who am I to judge in the first place? Right? Like, unless you're perfect, you're a great record, you're a multimillionaire, you have a clean slate, you've never made a mistake. How?
Yeah, but
can
you could be a narcissist that manipulates people and treats people like shit. You know what I mean? Like people, and it's gotten better because society, I think, on that front has gotten better with certain, like, you know, something I like about the younger generation now is that somehow, like, the vanity, they're so vain, they got into like fitness, you know? So it's like you're so vain, something positive came out of it.
Yeah.
You know?
I did notice that as well.
Yeah. Fitness
like
is definitely a thing.
That time period, people were much more healthier.
Yeah, for sure. And
Awesome.
again, you want to hear a crazy statistic?
Always.
1 in 16 people are millionaires in the United States.
I knew that. Yeah.
1 in 16,000 people have six packs. No, I'm sorry. 1 in 25,000 people have six packs.
I think we're in a capitalistic nation for sure, and people focus on money. Definitely.
Obviously, when you're in Miami, you're like, bro, there's no way that's true. I know, like,
we're in a
like
bubble.
30% of my friends have six packs. Yeah. We're in the vanity capital of the world, possibly.
100%. We're in a bubble here. Things don't make sense here. Things don't make sense.
100%.
You were just talking about that, like, oh, you know, people would probably assume like you're a Barbie, you don't even know anything. It's
Right.
true, because that's the perspective of women here. They come here, they're beautiful, they're after people's money. But I've been fighting that for such a long time.
Mm.
You know, that whole thing, just because you're a woman, that's how you have to behave.
Right.
Absolutely not. Like, you know, you're talking about having a business in Miami. I wanted that so much to prove and show, like, to be successful here, you don't have to do those things that typical Miami women do
Right.
in order to get ahead. That's not the only way, ladies. Ponte la pila. Fine.
That should be your t-shirt. Ponte la
Right? Ponte la pila. But yeah, that doesn't have to be, you know, you don't have to have that social construct in those ways. You don't have to be that in Miami. You can go outside the box and be whatever that you want to be, regardless of your past, regardless of that dogma that you've had. You can go ahead, educate yourself, learn, put yourselves in better rooms, and do something different. Why not? Evolve.
Evolution.
Because AI's coming after your job, bro.
AI's coming after you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so based on what we discussed, would you argue that reality is just one big construct? It's all fake?
100%. 100%. There's no such thing as reality, right? Because your reality is different to mine.
Right.
My perspective is different to yours. So who am I to argue that your reality does not exist, right? My reality, you may or may not get it, but you're not going to digest it as your reality. So it can't be real, right?
I mean, it's either none of it is real or all of it is real.
You're right. You are right.
Right.
Both perspectives.
I find the argument of who's right and who's wrong is very like futile to me.
It's absolutely
Because
pointless.
both of us can be right, or both of us can be completely wrong,
Mhm.
or one of us can be right and one of us can be wrong.
Mhm.
There's like I find the black and white argument I'm very black and white in my life for certain things,
Mhm.
but for many things I'm not anymore.
You mean like your beliefs and virtues and what you stand for? You're black and white?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, I'm non-negotiable in my principles.
great.
Where I'm very much in the gray area is situations in life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like for instance, I'm driving, someone crashes into me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would assume it was their fault, right? The old me would have been like, all right, here we go. It's his fault. Now I gotta. Now I don't care. It's like so many things could have happened with that person.
Yep.
You know, are they in a super abusive relationship and maybe they're running away from the house because the guy was beating the crap out of her, so she wasn't paying attention for a second and she crashed into my car.
Yeah, but that's growth, right?
Yeah.
That's maturity. So
I'm very gray in
Yeah.
when I live through situations in my life. I try to take people into consideration. Believe it or not, what helped me a lot with that was prison.
I can imagine.
We get treated so bad in prison. You're treated as subhuman. I needed to. I believe that God put me in prison to make me understand how bad a human can be treated. Mind you, I was in a better situation in prison than most because I was in a federal prison.
You're upstate?
Yeah. Well, Central Florida. Yeah.
The land?
The land, the promised land.
No, the land, the correctional facility.
No. That's a state. That's a state.
Is it?
Yeah. I was at Coleman prison camp.
Mm.
Yeah. So, mind you, I'm in one of the better situations you can be in prison, right? So, it's like, damn. So I still got treated like shit, and I was in a better situation than most prisoners. So it's like, oh, now I understand why I'm here. I was there for several reasons. I went for some, but one of them was to never treat anybody like that as long as I'm alive. Nelson Rodriguez is alive. He will never treat anybody like they're not human. Never treat anybody that bad.
Can you imagine a lot of people, if they're not stopped, right? Because if you don't have the awareness for another human being, that's purely ego,
Yeah,
right? You are focused, you
100%.
have no awareness.
100%.
If nothing stops you, you will grow and be a person in this world without realizing that what you do and who you are affects everybody around
else.
you,
Yep.
right? So, yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. If I didn't get impacted with that, I would have never known either.
And
right?
I was never like this before prison. I'm a total empath now. I feel pain and it honestly scares me sometimes because I'll see somebody and I'll get a vision of kind of like, and I'm like, bro, and then I've asked like, bro, are you okay? Like are your parents? Oh, my mom has cancer.
Right.
And it's like, bro, what is going on right now? Like, I'm so in tune with what's going on with other people, and like, my own emotions.
Yeah.
I wasn't very emotionally intelligent before, but what I always do now is like I have a practice where I'm very alone by myself and I kind of like experience my body, and I evaluate what happened to me the day before and what I plan on doing today, and that I guess that process kind of makes me very aware of what's going on within my own body, and it's made me aware of what's going on around me. So when I have people in my immediate space, I know like, all right, wait, what's up with this person? Like, and it's crazy. So
do you practice stoicism?
very much so.
No wonder, because that's a scanning is a self-analysis, but it's a powerful thing, Nelson. Like you're more advanced than a lot of people, right? I think here in Miami, when you're focused on the self, the vanity, the money, it's very egotistical and ego driven, right?
Yeah.
So as you develop emotionally as a human being, you start getting out of that level,
Out of the shell.
and you start to advance, right, as a human. And you start to realize, why am I placed in this planet? Why am I here? What is my impact to humanity? Which is what we should be doing,
Bro.
right? Because it's not about how much money you've made. What kind of impact
Can you have
on this earth, right? Because like you said, on the timeline of history, your
nothing.
money is going to be forgotten. Your money will be spent by someone in your lineage. What kind of impact do you make?
100%.
And if you don't think about it, you don't digest, you don't consider the other people around you, I think that's where we're at as a society, and I think as well, post-COVID, people started to realize this happened to me.
Right.
I feel wronged and nobody's righting them. And I feel like there's a sense of like, I'm stuck in that, right? Right?
Bro.
So like if we can just get out and like, how can I be of service to other people? How can I make better decisions and actions for me? What did I say that might impact people? How can I make someone feel better? Bro, I'm in that space.
Bro.
It's so funny. I'm so interested that we're having this conversation.
Nothing is by accident.
Nothing is by accident. Synchronicities, bro.
I'm telling you. Seriously.
It's good.
All right, guys. We're going to hear from our second sponsor, and we'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, the familiar voice of your host, Nelson Rodriguez Jr., taking a quick detour to talk to you about the best jewelry shop on the internet, Gus Villa Jewelry. Let's be honest here, guys. Jewelers in Miami are super shady sometimes. I've even been ripped off once or twice by one of these self-proclaimed alchemists that ended up being these weirdos who sell you a bunch of stuff that make your neck and your fingers turn black. Let me tell you, after I met my boy, Gus Villa, he elevated my bling game. The Gus Villa team, these guys are more than just jewelers. These guys are magicians turning metal and stone into your next head turner. Trust me, these pieces shine so much you can see them from outer space. Head over to GusVillaJewelry.com, and because you're a Monty, that's right, part of the Montana Method crew, you can use the promo code Montana to snatch 5% off your order. You don't just get hooked up with some shine, you get to have some dough in your pocket. Double whammy. So guys, what are you waiting for? Elevate your jewelry game. Show the world what you got. You got some style, you got some bling, you're all blinged up. Come on back after you do that. We've got more Montana Method Madness waiting for you. Now back to the podcast. Whatever you're looking for, it comes.
It comes. Yeah.
So people, we have this external like, oh yeah, when I get that house, when I get that money, when I get this girl. No, bro, you're looking at it the wrong way. Oh yeah, when I get that, I'll be like this. No. You need to be like that now in order to get that thing. Right?
Completely. It's funny that we're having this conversation because I've been looking into, there's a concept, right, in the Torah. It's happiness and joy. Happiness is a fleeting emotion that's based on your material surroundings. Happiness is not, technically it's real, right? But it's fleeting. Joy. 100%. Joy is the real internal emotion. But there's two different sides of it, right? One is being and the joy of becoming. So the joy of being and the joy of becoming, right? Being, I'm alive, I'm breathing, I'm healthy, everybody around me is okay. I'm good.
Right.
Who are you becoming in the process, right? In pursuit of those things, right? Hey, I want the car, I want the girl, etc. Who are you becoming in the process? Because if you're a shithead the whole time and you did terrible things in the process, you're not going to be happy once you
100%.
achieve that thing,
100%.
right? It's not the thing that's going to make you happy. Why are you looking for those things? Is it the security? Is it the power? Is it the confidence? That's the questions to be asked as well. But that's what I was saying. I took a year to step back and, out of the nightlife, out of the scene, out of the podcast, out of that, to really evaluate what's real. Who am I surrounding myself with that shouldn't be? I had a huge culling in my life. Like, I eliminated so many people and habits and, places just to walk away and be like, bro, I'm probably halfway, God willing, in my life right now. Where am I at? Where am I going? Right? It's a real question to ask, But some people never do it. They focus on the cars and
Isn't that a sad existence?
That's Miami, bro. That's
It
Miami.
can be.
It could be.
It can be if you choose, if that's what you choose.
Right. But you're from out here, right? Of course.
Born and raised.
Where?
A little all over. I mean, when I was born, I was born in Hialeah Hospital, but we lived in Little Havana at the time. And when I was about 4, we moved to Kendall. After that, I moved to the Kinloch area. I don't know if you know where that is, but that's...
Kinloch? No.
Yeah, that's like Lejeune and like Northwest 4th Street around there. It's down the street from here. After that, I moved to Hialeah Gardens. I was there for a good chunk, like from 6 to 11. Then I moved to Carroll City. And I was in different parts of Carroll City from 11 to about 17 years old. Then when I was 17, my mom moved to West Palm Beach, and I was still in high school, and I wanted to finish school, so I moved out on my own. And I ended up moving to Coral Gables to an efficiency in my aunt's house, which was the house I pretty much grew up in every summer.
I feel like that's a rite of passage.
Yeah.
You can't say you're from Dade County unless you've lived in multiple
efficiencies.
Yeah. No, multiple efficiencies.
I've lived in a few myself.
Same, bro.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. And that's why it's hard. When I think about my childhood, the largest chunk of my childhood and my adolescence was spent in Carroll City. So that's kind of what I reference to and what I remember the most vividly. But I'm from everywhere, really.
It's Miami.
Yeah.
Miami. Somebody was trying to argue with me the other day online. We were talking about Coral Gables. And I'm like, man, because there's this un viejito. He had this house since he came from Cuba, 50 years, right? But what happened is the zoning, somebody obviously, they paid under the table. They got those permits to build around him. This poor man's house is covered.
I've heard of this guy.
Right?
I've heard of this person.
Right. Pobrecito. Like,
and he wants to stay, and they're trying to push him out.
Right, but they're giving him fines like almost monthly, coming out to $20,000 a month.
What part of the city? I know
he's in the Gables.
But
right?
what part? Like,
I don't say. I don't know. But I was like, oh, pobrecito. I was like, officials in Miami need to do better. And instead of supporting that fact, somebody was arguing with me, and they're like, oh, this is not Miami proper. This is not a part of Dade County. And I'm like, bro, what does it matter? In reality, it's Miami, right? Because to me, Coral Gables, Miami, Carroll City, it's Miami, right? We are from here. I don't care where, like, Miami, right? So, like, you might say Carroll City, but, like,
no, but Miami. Even when I say that out loud, I'm like, I'm really from everywhere.
Right.
I literally have lived in almost every part of the city, and there's almost no part of the city that I don't have like a genuine, like, I've sat in parts of the city by myself, and I've literally like brought myself to tears from how much I love this place. That's why what's happening to this place pisses me off.
I know.
Because it's like Miami is as much a part of me as like the hair on my head and like, my skin. It's just like I can't imagine growing up anywhere else.
Right.
This human being would not exist if it was not for Miami. You know what I'm saying?
I can relate.
There's just no other way to really explain it or to contextualize it. It's, the sky is blue, the grass is green, the sun is, the sun changes colors.
That's true. But I can relate. Like, I'm from out here, from Westchester originally. Like, my family. Wachete, right? We grew up out there. And I spent, we moved around a lot, but in that area, we spent a lot of time out there. And I love this city as well.
It's a great part of town.
It's a great, it is. But now, it's just suburbia at this point. But I hate what's happening as well here. It just doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel the same. And now, like, I'm in pursuit of like finding a life beyond here, to see if I can have a place that captures that magic to me. Like, if it wasn't for the business, like for what I'm doing right now, I'd probably be living in Barcelona right now. honestly.
I don't know. I was moving to Spain, but I get what you're saying.
It's a beautiful place. Let me tell you.
So is California.
I would never move there because of the 50%
But you
tax. I would never.
in Spain doesn't have 50% either.
They don't. They don't. They don't. If
Yeah,
you
it's like 47.
for specific things, right? In order, if I was to buy a property, right,
Mm-hmm.
I would immediately have citizenship. I wouldn't
Really?
get charged capital gains.
I didn't know that.
I would not get charged
Interesting.
capital gains.
Hmm.
I would have the tax, but not the capital gains. So it's like inverse to here. Like, yes, this place has its quirks, right? But other places really incentivize the people in their town to be able to
Mhm.
live comfortably,
Right.
right? I would live there in a heartbeat. Just because to me, it felt more like home than Miami did.
Really? Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I've thought about this, obviously, about living in other places. To me, there's a short list. Costa Rica is one of them.
It's beautiful. out
Costa
there.
Rica would be, if I absolutely had to leave,
Mhm.
and I was like, that's it. This place was hit with, like, it became 1,000 times worse than it is now,
Mm.
and there was no reason for me to stay. Then I would consider Costa Rica for sure. I've been there 3 times, and I say that Costa Rica is the closest version of the Garden of Eden that we have on this planet. It is an amazing place.
Mhm.
Everything you can imagine, from how nice the people are,
Mhm.
to how great the food tastes, to how beautiful like the suns. I stayed at this place in Jaco that was near this cliff,
Mhm.
and my friend that lives there, he always like takes me around whenever I go over there. He takes me to this cliff every time I go, and like the sunset on that cliff on the
Bonito.
water is like the most beautiful. He took me to this rainforest called El Bosque Virgen, the Virgin Forest,
Mhm.
and his son became a friend of mine now, but his dad owns 150 acres of this forest, and it's private land, so and he preserves it. He doesn't do anything on it. He lets the animals live there, and he basically gives everybody like ATV tours, and that's kind of how.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so like diving in a waterfall in Costa Rica. Are you kidding me?
It's life.
That's literally that water. Literally, like it's rejuvenating.
Mm-hmm.
It brings this life into you. You're just like, dude, the cold plunges,
Mm-hmm.
mountain water, 100%. That's
beautiful.
what mountain water is.
But you know, you're saying this like, it just reminds me how amazing I felt traveling all over the world.
Yeah, no,
So
traveling
why-
is like a
Why
life's
do
purpose.
we have this connection to Miami so hard, right?
Because you only have one home.
Do you?
Yeah, 100%.
Why? Is it where you were raised? Where you've had your most experiences? What is home?
Home is, again, it's a construct, right? So, but home is sacred more than anything.
Mm.
I have a special tie to this place, and until those ties are severed, I don't know what needs to happen for those ties to be severed.
Mm-hmm.
Some people never sever those ties and leave unwillingly and are very sad, and I'm not willing to be those people.
Mm-hmm.
Some people never really had ties, like my sister. She didn't give a shit
And they
about this
just
place, and
bounce.
she just bounced,
Yeah.
right? Which is cool. I don't like. My thing is, I'm not gonna make a decision based on like a temporary circumstance.
Mm.
I don't make decisions based on circumstances. I make decisions based on like the trajectory of life. Like decisions have consequences.
Mm-hmm.
So when I make a decision, I try to make a long-term decision, right? And if it's not important, I just don't make a decision at all. Like,
How did you get to that place? Because I feel like being from here, I don't speak for everybody, but like a lot of lessons weren't really taught to us, and like methods of like emotional expression or
Mhm.
like thought processes. It's not really, taught to you. How did you get that?
it took time.
Really,
So
is
it
it
wasn't
from like people or books?
it wasn't
or-
overnight.
Okay.
It was ever since I was little, I had this yearning for like I want to do something big with my life. It came originally from the motivation to help my mother and my father. They worked very hard, but I knew they didn't have money, so I wanted to be like the family savior. I remember seeing convertible cars as a kid, and I was like, Mom, I'm gonna have one of those. And that was my first motivation in life, to help my family, to make sure they were taken care of. But then it became bigger, because as I got into middle school, high school, I got a little older, and you start kind of becoming an adult. I realized that the people around me weren't really just didn't want certain things in life.
Right.
They weren't hungry. They weren't ambitious. They didn't realize, they didn't even want to imagine a bigger life. They were just accepted things as they are and kind of distracted themselves on a daily basis. Did drugs and had sex with a bunch of people, and just did whatever they could to pass the time and distract themselves from the fact that they weren't where they wanted to be in life. And I was like, bro, why not just improve your life? You won't want to do the drugs, right? Like, improve your life and make your life kind of like how you want it to be. And then by default, you won't want to do those things anymore and you'll feel better.
So that was just intrinsic inside of you?
It was.
How funny.
I didn't realize it at the time, but I can think back to these moments where I had these thoughts. And then I just started searching for answers. I started reading books. Again, synchronicity. Whoever became my best friend at the time, we could have these kinds of conversations, right? We would talk about how high school was a joke and things weren't really meant to teach us. It was kind of just a place in a daycare for teenagers, you know? And then I just started reading books and really searching for answers, and life led me along that path. You know, I started finding business opportunities that led me to new mentors. I started finding out about books to read, started finding out about seminars to go to, and it snowballed ever since. It hasn't stopped. You know, it's been a never-ending journey of getting better. And what's crazy is I've come really far, but I'm still not where I want to be in life. So it's like, damn, if I've come this far.
But that's humble.
You know?
That's a humble perspective, because there's so many places to grow.
100%.
You know, internally, externally as well. That's powerful. And the reason why I was asking you that, Nelson, is because I'm like, is it a Miami thing? Right? Because I've spoken to so many people that they're like, man, I just knew I wanted to do something big. But then other people here are just content with mediocrity, you know? So,
but that's the majority of people.
Yeah, that's true.
99 percenters. There's 1%ers and there's 99 percenters. It has nothing to do with where. It's just nature versus nurture, right? That whole thing, like, is it how you're raised or are you born with it? Like, it's hard to argue, but at the end of the day, it always goes back to the majority of people. All the competition is for mediocrity. It's not for excellence. Right. Everybody's competing for the mediocre spots. Everybody's competing for what's easy. No one's competing for what's worth it. You know? So the majority of people, 99 percenters, like 99% of people are just that way. You know?
Do you think it's that they don't know, or they're just like, I can't accept it, so I'm just going to be ignorant to it?
Oof, that's a good question.
Right?
I think once you learn something, you can't unlearn it. And you can go back into the distraction process. I write about this in my book, by the way. It's called the Pathfinder's Pyramid.
Pathfinder's Pyramid.
There's 4 stages. There's survival, distraction, searching, and purpose. So the first level of the pyramid is survival. So in survival, you're thinking about your next meal, how to put food on the table.
There's no room for anything else.
There's literally no room for anything else. I mean, look at Cuba. It's a great example. You know, any dictatorship across the world, you keep your people starving, and they gotta fight amongst themselves for the scraps and figure out how they're gonna eat. And you literally have no space to think about anything else because you're trying to survive. When you drive a person to be that kind of animal and have that base instinct, they can't really. There's nothing else for them to process, right? So that's level 1.
Speaking back, pause real quick, because I find this fascinating. That was the biggest reason that I knew to like not accept people, but to recognize people, because here in Miami, a lot of people are starving, and people do crazy shit that they had to in order to survive. Yeah. So if you can't be kind or empathetic to a person like that, how can you ask for empathy in return? But that's powerful. 100%. So second step. Distraction.
Which is a big one, right? You think you made it. You can afford the concert ticket. You can afford the crazy vacation to Costa Rica. Right? You can afford the flashy car. Yeah. You know? You can afford some camera guy to follow you around and post all these pictures of you with 10 women on Instagram. You know? You think you made it. You haven't made shit. You're just adding things to that. You're just finding things to fill in the why am I here?
The whole, yeah.
Right? And it's cool. There's nothing wrong with distraction for a little while, because you come from surviving. You come from nothing. So show yourself what life can offer. There's nothing wrong with that. It's only wrong if you stay there.
If you stay there.
Right?
Exactly.
Because eventually there comes a time where you're like, you know,
what else?
You're sitting in the big hotel room with all the women and the drugs and all that stuff, you know, and you're like, this is fun, but this can't be it, right?
The party has to end. The party has to end sometime.
And the second you ask yourself that question for the first time, you go into searching.
Searching, okay.
And that's self-explanatory. You start asking the important questions. Why am I here? What's the point of all this? What was I meant to do? What's my destiny? Who am I? Who am I is a powerful one. after I got indicted and I lost everything. I lost my business, all my stuff. Like, I was not my things. I was not my title. I was not my profession. So I really had to be like, bro, who am I?
That's a serious question.
And it took me a really long time to answer that question. And then if you're lucky, you find purpose.
Did you get there?
I would say so.
Really? Powerful.
I would say so.
That's powerful, man. I'm still
Have you?
searching. So I love this because it reminds me of like Maslow's hierarchy, but also like the Buddhist ascension to nirvana at the same time, right? It's a beautiful combination between the two. So somebody asked me a year ago. It's funny, a year ago when I did the purge of everything. He was like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "Bro, you know who I am, bro. We're playing poker, you know." What are you talking about, bro? You know who I am. I've been friends with you. And he's like, "No, but who are you?" I was like, "I'm Kat. I have my businesses." And he's like, "Okay, who are you?" And I was like, "Well, I'm from out here in Miami." And, but he's like, yeah, but who are you? And I pushed away from like the stuff, the constructs that I thought, made me as a person. And then when I got down to it, I was like, damn, who am I? Are you talking about my beliefs? Are you talking about what I've accomplished? Like, what is it? So that question put me on an avalanche of searching, right? Because I've always been into personal development and looking for answers. Because much like yourself, Nelson, like to me, when I was young, I was like, I see these guys have it. I want it too. And for your reason, you wanted to help your family. I just wanted to have more money than everybody. I just wanted to be like, whatever you guys had to say, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how successful I am, and I will do it, right? But, through that pursuit and meeting people and having those synchronicities, having those things, it was always like, the sun's coming up, the party's got to end, right? So searching and that question happens. So it was like perfect timing. So I'm searching still, and I'm getting closer to the purpose.
I think you're close.
I'm close, but I have a deep purpose to help women. I just haven't figured out how yet, right?
Interesting.
So that's my purpose. I believe I could be wrong. It could be something totally different, but I think it's taking me in that direction. But it's not a month thing. It's not a year thing. In my head, I have it as a lifelong pursuit to figure out how can I be of service and help, and what is that purpose? How can I live out that purpose? But I think being there, I give myself a little bit of grace instead of being stuck in that, distraction and survival. Thank God we're not in survival. But it's a process. It's a process,
Life is a never-ending process of figuring it out. Yeah. It really is.
And I think where the sadness and the anxiety and,
it's all meant to happen.
It's all meant to happen, right? You will get there. It's all supposed to happen when it's supposed to happen. But, remembering that in the hectic moments, that's tough.
I mean, if it wasn't for the pain of being dirt poor, none of this would have happened in my life. If it wasn't for the pain of you not having money as a kid, like you can relate. If it's not for the pain of that super overweight guy looking himself in the mirror one day and being disgusted with what he sees, he wouldn't become some super fit success story, transformative body on Instagram or whatever, personal trainer. You get what I'm saying? Like, if it's not for that unbearable pain that you feel one day because of XYZ fill in the blank, then you don't have that moment where you wake up and you're like, oh my God,
So then here's a question for you.
Sure.
Does it have to be this life that we live? Do we have to hit that brick wall? Do we have to have that pain? Do we have to have something that creates something new? Does it always have to be that?
I would argue that the best things in your life come from pain.
So it's a necessity.
Absolutely.
It's a part of life.
Look at rich kids. What happens to them? There's no obstacles.
There's no obstacles, yeah.
There's
no
no
challenges.
So they become what the typical stereotypical rich kid is, It's this kid who has all these privileges and all these things, and they just party life away because they're they feel it more than anybody.
Yeah.
So
I think just asking that question, like looking at nature and looking at life, what is things that are doing, right? They don't change unless there's some sort of rainstorm, tectonic plate hitting to develop mountains.
Newton's law.
You need a thing to make another thing happen. So pain is inevitable.
And outside force has to act upon it. Exactly.
It has to.
Yep.
It's inevitable. Just is. It's just hard in the moment to accept it, you know. You're like, this is for my good.
No matter how much work you do on yourself, right?
Right.
Trust me.
Right. It's
I-
a lifelong journey.
I always try to. It's like, dude, when things happen, because of course I'm human and things happen to me.
Mhm.
It's hard, even in the moment, and to just be like, you already know. You've been. Come on, man. Remember all the books you've read.
Mhm.
How many times do you tell yourself this? How many people has this happened to? And but it doesn't make it hurt less.
In the moment,
know?
it feels like the
Yeah.
world is shattering.
When the love of your life leaves you,
Mm.
cheats on you, when your mom dies, when
Mhm.
you go bankrupt, like things don't hurt less.
Yep. It's
You know?
true.
But
It's the journey. It's the part of the journey.
and that's what I've realized. It's not about getting somewhere. It's
No.
about who you become in the process.
Becoming. Who are you in the process?
Mm.
Being and becoming. Every conversation that I've had lately has taken me back to that.
Mm.
The joy is, who are you in the process? Who are you becoming? Or what are you just doing? Right? It's so funny how life sometimes we complicate it and like you boil it down to the most simple things. But this is a really good conversation, a
It really
real
is.
conversation.
And this is the reason I started the podcast. Like this is my purpose.
Mm,
If one person sees this and says, "Wow, like, what's my purpose in life?" You know what I mean? Then life, I've done my job.
mm-hmm,
You know,
mm-hmm.
so
So what you're telling me is I have to start a podcast for women. Is that what you're saying?
I'll help you. I'm serious. Let's do it.
I want to. The reason is, Nelson, is because I feel like right now women, with the proliferation of certain lifestyles and careers, you hear women making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a month. Where's the honor for a woman to go and pursue her own business, right? Like it becomes.
And society is encouraging them,
Society is encouraging
which
it.
is the part I find disgusting because
Mhm.
you're basically telling this woman, yeah, what you're doing is empowering. Okay.
It's not
So
empowering.
selling your body and all that is
It's
empowering.
not
Okay.
empowering. I feel
Yeah.
like you were saying, a lot of people controlling the media who's actually making money on those platforms. They're
100%.
encouraging that message to come out. So my thing is, I want to tell women, like I've met so many women in that space, beyond, in that lifestyle. It is not the way to go, right? But a lot of these women are short-term kind of thinking. They're 19 and 20. So I would love to communicate to that woman and tell them, like, yes, the short-term gain is not going to help you in the long run. I guarantee you that.
And then we come full circle, the power of money, right? That's what money can make you.
Power of money, you know.
Money can make you make certain decisions that you wouldn't otherwise. So,
Survival.
yeah,
Survival.
100%.
But it's about finding the purpose and talking to the right people.
For sure.
You know? Definitely.
Kat, unfortunately, we can't be here for 4 hours because I think we could, honestly. But all good things come to an end. Another life lesson. I usually wrap up asking 3 questions.
Okay.
So first question, what inspires you?
What inspires me is the ability to show my niece that there is another way, that she can have whatever she wants in this life. She can be whatever that she truly wants to be. That inspires me every day.
I love that. I have a 9-year-old niece. Her name is Jalissa. She's one of the smartest people I've ever met. She's adorable. I love her. It's actually backwards for me. She's shown me that anything is possible in life.
I love that.
Yeah.
The perspective of kids just like opens your eyes to really see.
Kids are the best, man. I can't wait to get married and have kids. Not for lack of trying.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
yeah.
powerful.
I'm that guy.
That's powerful.
I've become that guy because I used to be like, yeah, right.
Right, Miami.
Right.
Bitches, bro. Call one right now.
Yeah. 5 or 6, hopefully. Like 5 or 6 kids.
Wow.
Yeah, I would love that. That'd be great. Big family.
Mm-hmm.
Bring that back in.
I love that.
That doesn't exist anymore.
No, it doesn't.
Unfortunately.
I mean, they're breaking apart the families. You know.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Second question. What's next for you?
What is next? So on the horizons, there's something that I really want to pursue. I want to pursue my staging business for real estate, high-end luxury real estate.
Cool.
I really want to pursue it. It's a challenge. It's difficult. It's something that I've never done before, but I want to pursue my creative side. Like I need to create something. I think that's what I've been missing. to physically make something, a depiction of my art. So that's next for me. That's next.
The creative process is important for all human beings.
You need it.
This is my creativity.
You're made in God's image. He created.
Super, dude.
You should be creating as well. If you don't, you will feel empty.
You are a part of God. Like, you have all the dynamics of God within you. You are not God, right? But you came from that source. So you have all the dynamics of that within you in a smaller.
Believe that 100%.
So yeah, so you're meant to be a creator, for sure.
Everybody
On a
is.
smaller scale, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Last question: how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for helping a group of people that couldn't help themselves. On the timeline in history, the blip that I've been here for, if I can help someone, a specific group of people, preferably women, and make an impact to save their life or help them make better decisions, that would be it.
I love that. Kat, you are welcome back anytime.
Thank you, sir. It's
Thank
been
you
a
for
pleasure.
coming. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Alrighty, guys. That's another wrap on another episode of the Montana Method Podcast with special guest, Ms. Kat Moreno. Thank you very much for coming. Push it to the limit. The world is yours. And if you are not chasing a dream, guys, life is meaningless. Catch you on the next one. Say goodnight to the back guy.
I've been out here hustling all my life. Every day we get into it. Really out here in these streets. That's day and night. Like there's nothing to it. When I was going through it, dog, I never got your call. I never asked for nothing, no. But now I want it all. I promise I'ma do it. Came from rags to riches. Rags to riches. Came from rags to riches. Rags to riches. Came from rags.